"You're going to plead for mercy by the end of this, rookie." The tall cadet hissed into her ear as he tightened the mock chokehold around her neck. The others laughed, loudly. No one stepped in, not even Sergeant Daniels, who stood with arms crossed in the distance, eyes narrowed. The girl they were messing with, Cadet Rivera, remained calm, her jaw clenched, her breath steady, but not because she was afraid. No, Rivera was calculating, measuring, waiting. She could end this in 3 seconds flat, but instead she chose to watch. Just hours before, she'd walked onto base for the first time. No fanfare, no salutes, just a silent entrance, her eyes focused straight ahead. Some cadets scoffed, one nudged another and whispered, "She looks like she's here to write reports, not break bones." Another muttered, "Bet she cries before breakfast." What they didn't know was that Rivera wasn't a fresh recruit. She was a former SEAL, a decorated combat specialist with more classified missions than birthdays most of these boys had celebrated. But she didn't wear medals on her chest. She wore silence like armor. She didn't come here to be recognized. She came here to teach. And that lesson started now. As Murphy tightened his grip, grinning for the crowd, Rivera looked up at the sky. Her silence, mistaken for weakness, was almost poetic. She'd spent 7 years under fire, crawling through mud, hauling wounded comrades out of collapsing buildings, learning 18 ways to disarm a man without breaking a sweat. And now, here she was, being mocked by boys who hadn't even seen real war movies, without flinching. But she didn't break. She didn't beg. She waited. And then Sergeant Daniels gave the slightest nod. In one blur of motion, her elbow slammed backward into Murphy's ribs. A crunch. He gasped. Before his brain could register the pain, her body spun, snatched his wrist, twisted it in a fluid arc, and slammed him into the dirt. He hit hard. The laughter stopped. Gasps echoed. Another cadet stepped forward, shocked. Rivera spun again, disarmed him with a precision that was almost graceful. Within 10 seconds, 4 of them were down, groaning, dazed, disarmed. She hadn't even broken a sweat. Murphy, trying to get up, glared at her through watery eyes. "Who the hell are you?" he spat. Rivera stepped closer, standing over him. Her voice was steady. Cold steel. "Someone who's buried brothers who bled for this country while you were still trying to grow a beard." The others stood frozen, confused, ashamed. That's when Sergeant Daniels finally stepped forward. "At ease," he barked. The squad straightened instantly. Daniels stared at Rivera. "You could have ended that faster. Why wait?" She didn't even blink. "Because they needed to feel it, not hear it, feel it." Daniels nodded once, then turned to the rest. "Listen up. That's not a cadet. That's your new combat instructor, Rivera, SEAL, multiple tours. Real-world experience none of you even deserve to hear about. And you clowns treated her like a damn secretary." Mouths dropped open. You could hear the guilt settle in like fog. He paced slowly, letting his words sink deep. "You judged her because she's quiet, because she's small, because she's a woman. But strength doesn't need to shout. Sometimes it walks in silently and waits for the right moment to show you what the hell you missed." Rivera looked at the young faces, still pale, stunned, humbled. She wasn't angry, she was real. This uniform doesn't make you strong, neither does shouting orders or puffing your chest. Respect isn't given because of rank. It's earned when you shut up, open your eyes, and realize that survival out there depends on how well you can listen, learn, and lead without ego. One cadet, barely out of high school, stepped forward with red cheeks. "I'm sorry, Mom. We didn't know." She walked up to him, handed him back the rifle she had disarmed. "Then make sure the next time you meet someone quiet, you wonder what they've survived to become that way." What followed was silence. Then a slow, scattered applause. Not from the top, from the cadets, from those who'd laughed minutes ago. The kind of clap that starts in the gut, when you're not just clapping for skill, but for who someone is. That day, Rivera didn't demand respect. She earned it. And it stayed with every cadet long after the bruises healed. Murphy, he came up to her the next day, eyes down, ego deflated. "Mom," he said, "can you show me that move again?" And she did. But this time he listened. The base would never forget that morning. And none of those cadets ever underestimated anyone again, especially not the quiet ones. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it. Never mistake silence for weakness. The ones who say the least often have survived the most. Real strength doesn't perform. It waits and teaches. You made it to the end. That means this story meant something to you. Tell us what part moved you most and where you're watching from. We read and replied to so many of your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for your next dose of inspiration.